The research station floated silently above the blue edge of the planet Charis 9. From far away, it looked peaceful, almost beautiful. Inside, it was full of secrets. Lurie stood alone in the observation chamber, her slender hands resting behind her back. Her species, the Velari, were known across the galaxy for their calm minds and advanced science. They believed emotion slowed progress. Lurie believed curiosity was stronger than fear. On the transparent screen before her, lines of data flowed endlessly. Genetic structures, survival charts, adaptability curves. Most of them belonged to one species, humans. The Galactic Council had classified humans as limited potential, short lifespans, fragile bodies, unstable emotions. They survived, yes, but only on one harsh planet. No natural armor, no claws, no psychic senses, and yet they refused to disappear. Every time the galaxy expected humanity to fail, it endured. When exposed to radiation, humans adapted. When placed in hostile gravity, their bodies adjusted. When outmatched in war, they learned, changed, and returned stronger. Lurie leaned closer to the screen. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "That makes no sense," she whispered. Her project was unofficial, unapproved, dangerous if discovered, but she could not stop now. The experiment was not physical. No contact, no reproduction. It was a controlled genetic simulation, models testing how human biological patterns reacted when paired with other species' traits, not to create life but to understand possibility. The Council believed genetic dominance came from control. Lurie suspected something else. She selected a new data stream, a single human subject, Evan Hale. Age, 28. Occupation, soldier. Background, unremarkable. No genetic enhancements. No elite lineage. Perfectly average. That was why she chose him. If something extraordinary appeared in Evan Hale's data, it could not be explained away as special breeding or engineered design. It would mean the truth was deeper. Evan sat in a human military outpost on the edge of neutral space, unaware that his biological and neural readings were being studied light years away. He believed the medical scans were routine. Humans were used to being watched. Lurie activated the simulation. At first, the results were normal. Human DNA reacted predictably, adapt, resist, stabilize, then something changed. The model began adjusting itself. Lurie froze. The simulation was not supposed to do that. She ran the numbers again. No error. The human genetic pattern was not simply reacting, it was influencing the simulated environment. The system recalculated survival outcomes based on human presence, as if the human element improved overall stability. Impossible. She increased complexity, introduced stress factors. Environmental collapse, resource scarcity. The human model did not collapse. Instead, it shifted. Where other species' genetic patterns specialized narrowly, human genetics spread influence across the entire system. It compensated for weaknesses. It strengthened bonds between traits that should have rejected each other. Lurie's calm broke. Her heart rate increased. "Humans don't dominate," she said softly. "They connect." She stopped herself and looked around. No one else was present. Still, she lowered her voice. Unauthorized research carried severe punishment. She saved the data under a private code and leaned back. Across the stars, Evan Hale finished his medical scan and stood up from the chair. The human technician smiled and said everything looked normal. Evan nodded, grabbed his jacket, and left the room. He felt fine. But that night he dreamed. He dreamed of standing in places he had never seen, of strange skies and unfamiliar stars, of voices that did not speak, yet somehow asked questions. When he woke, his heart was racing. Back on Charis 9, Lurie stared at the neural feedback readings she should not have been receiving. The subject was responding, not consciously, but the human mind showed subtle changes. Increased pattern recognition, elevated problem-solving activity. A faint resonance with the simulation itself. This had never happened before. She disconnected the neural link immediately. That's enough, she told herself. You're crossing a line. But the data remained. Lurie was not a reckless scientist. She followed logic. And logic told her this discovery would change everything. The next cycle, she presented a sanitized version of her findings to her mentor, a senior Velari researcher named Thalos. Humans show unusual adaptability, she said carefully. Their genetic models stabilize complex systems more efficiently than predicted. Thalos glanced at the screen, unimpressed. Adaptability is not dominance, he replied. They survive because they struggle. That is all. Lurie hesitated. What if survival itself is the strength? Thalos looked at her for a long moment. You are becoming emotionally attached to your research. No, Lurie said. I am becoming aware. He dismissed her with a gesture. Do not pursue this further. The council will not approve. She bowed respectfully and left. But she did not stop. Instead, she deepened the simulation in secret. She introduced theoretical compatibility frameworks, not reproduction but coexistence. How human biology affected alien populations when working together. The results were alarming. Conflict dropped. Survival rates increased. Technological progress accelerated. Human presence reduced systemic collapse. Lurie felt a strange tightness in her chest. Her species had no word for it. Humans did. Hope. Then the system flagged a warning. Unauthorized access detected. Her blood ran cold. She shut down the core files, encrypting what she could. The door to the chamber opened. Two Velari guards entered, followed by Thalos. You disobeyed a direct order, he said calmly. I followed the data, Lurie replied. The data threatens balance. Or reveals a lie, Thalos sighed. Humans are unpredictable. If others learn what you found, they will try to control them or erase them. Lurie met his gaze, or fear them. The guards moved closer. At that moment, alarms echoed through the station. Red light washed over the walls. External breach, an automated voice announced. Data extraction in progress. Lurie's eyes widened. Someone else had found the research. Across space, Evan Hale sat upright in his bunk, sweat on his skin. His mind felt sharp, alert, too alert. He did not know why, but he felt watched, studied. And for the first time in his life, he felt something else. Not fear, expectation. Whatever the galaxy thought humans were, the truth was waking up. And it would not stay contained. The alarms did not stop. They echoed through the research station again and again, sharp and urgent, like a warning meant for the entire galaxy. Lurie stood frozen for one breath, then moved fast. She rushed to the main console and pulled the data core toward her, her fingers flying across the light surface. Someone was trying to steal her research from outside the station. That meant one thing. The council was no longer the only danger. Lock internal access, she ordered. Unable, the system replied. Override detected. Thalos stepped forward, his calm face finally showing tension. This is exactly why I warned you, he said. Your curiosity has invited predators. Lurie did not look at him. No. It revealed them. The guards shifted, uncertain. They were trained to obey orders, not to think. Lurie knew that feeling well. She had lived with it most of her life. Who is accessing the files? She asked. The system paused. Origin traced to the Krezen Dominion. Her breath caught. The Krezen were known across the galaxy as manipulators. They believed life existed to be optimized, controlled, and used. Entire species had vanished after falling under their influence. If the Krezen learned the truth about humans, they would not seek cooperation. They would seek ownership. We have to warn them, Lurie said quietly. Thalos stared at her. Warn the humans, that would expose us. It could start a war. A war will start anyway, she replied. The difference is whether humans enter it blind. The alarms suddenly stopped. An unnatural silence followed. Data extraction complete, the system announced. Lurie slammed her hand against the console, too late. Across space, Evan Hale was already awake when the base lights shifted from night cycle blue to emergency white. Boots hit the floor outside his quarters. Voices shouted orders. He sat up slowly, his mind clear, sharp, focused in a way it had never been before. Something was wrong. He dressed quickly and stepped into the corridor. Soldiers moved with purpose, weapons ready. A commander passed him and stopped. "Hale," she said. "Medical flagged your scans again. You're coming with me." Evan frowned. "Again? I feel fine." That's what worries them. They walked fast through the base into a secure room filled with screens. Scientists stood behind glass, whispering urgently. On one screen, symbols scrolled, alien symbols. Evan stared. "Why is that here?" The commander hesitated, then spoke carefully. "Because someone out there is watching us." At that moment, the screen flickered. The symbols rearranged themselves into a rough human language. Evan felt his chest tighten. A face appeared. Not human. Smooth features, calm eyes, pale skin that reflected the light. "Lurie, I hope this translation works," she said softly. "My name is Lurie, I am a scientist, and you are in danger." The room erupted in noise. Weapons lifted. Orders were shouted. Evan raised his hand without thinking. "Wait." Everyone stared at him. "I don't know why," he said slowly, "but I think she's telling the truth." Lurie's eyes widened slightly. "You can sense the intent, just as the data suggested." The commander stepped forward. "Explain yourself, now." Lurie did not hesitate. She explained everything, her research, the simulations, the discovery that humans stabilized systems instead of dominating them. She spoke of the Krezen and their theft. When she finished, the room was silent. One of the scientists finally spoke. "You're saying humans are catalysts." "Yes," Lurie said. "Where you exist, collapse slows, conflict shifts, survival increases." "That's impossible," someone muttered. Evan stared at the screen, memories clicking into place. Every impossible mission, every last stand humans survived, every time they should have broken but didn't. "Maybe we were just never looking at it right," he said. The commander crossed her arms. "If the Krezen are coming, why warn us?" Lurie's voice softened. "Because what happens next will decide whether the galaxy becomes a cage or a community." The transmission cut abruptly. Back on the station, guards surrounded Lurie. Thalos looked at her with something close to sadness. "You have crossed every line," he said. Lurie straightened. Then those lines were wrong. She was arrested that cycle. The Krezen moved fast. Their ships appeared near human space within days, sleek, silent, armed beyond necessity. They sent no threats, only offers. They promised protection, advancement, genetic improvement. Human leadership listened politely. Then they refused. Humans had learned long ago that gifts with strings were chains. The Krezen did not react with anger. They reacted with strategy. They began seeding nearby systems with conflict, destabilizing trade routes, pushing smaller species toward desperation. Everywhere chaos grew, Krezen agents appeared with solutions. But something unexpected happened. Humans adapted faster. They coordinated relief missions, shared resources, built alliances without demanding control. Their presence calmed regions the Krezen meant to fracture. The simulations were playing out in reality. Evan Hale was assigned as a liaison, not because he was special, but because he listened. He spoke with alien leaders not as subjects, but as equals. One night, while studying captured Krezen data, Evan noticed something strange. "They're scared," he said. A scientist looked up. "Of what?" "Us, but not because we're strong, because we don't fit." The Krezen relied on predictability, on control. Humans introduced variables they could not calculate. Meanwhile, Lurie sat in a containment chamber, monitored constantly. She was not harmed, but she was isolated. Still, she watched. The data feeds she secretly left behind showed humans doing exactly what her models predicted, stabilizing, connecting, refusing to become what the Krezen expected. For the first time, she felt proud not of her species, but of another. Thalos visited her once. "You were right," he admitted quietly, and that terrifies the Council. Truth often does, Lurie replied. Humans will change everything. Yes, she said, that was always the point. As Krezen plans unraveled, desperation replaced patience. They prepared to strike directly to remove the variable. Human sensors detected the fleet. Evan stood on the command deck, watching alien and human ships align together, not under one flag but many. He thought of Lurie, of her warning, of a galaxy at a crossroads. This is where we stand, he said. Not above anyone, not below, just here. The fleet jumped to engage, and for the first time in galactic history, humanity did not fight alone. Somewhere in her cell, Lurie smiled. The experiment was over. The result was undeniable. And the final outcome had yet to be decided. The space between the fleets was silent, heavy with tension. Hundreds of ships floated in formation, human and alien side by side. They did not look the same. Their designs were different. Their technology followed different logic. But they were there together. That alone terrified the Krezen. Evan Hale stood on the command deck of the human flagship, his hands resting lightly on the console. He was not the highest-ranking officer in the room, but many eyes kept turning toward him. Not because he gave orders, but because he understood what this moment meant. Across the void, the Krezen fleet formed a perfect line. Sharp, identical ships, no variation, no visible hesitation. They want us to break first, Evan said calmly. They expect fear. An alien commander beside him, tall and covered in patterned scales, nodded slowly. They do not understand why we are here. Evan looked at the mixed fleet again. Neither did we once. The first Krezen transmission came through, cold, precise. You are interfering with natural order, the Krezen voice said. Step aside, humanity will be corrected. The alien commanders reacted with anger. Weapons powered up. Energy signatures flared. Evan raised his hand. Let me answer, he said. There was a pause. Then permission was granted. Evan stepped forward and activated the channel. You call it order, he said evenly. We call it control, and we've had enough of that. The Krezen voice replied instantly. You are inefficient, emotion-driven. You destabilize systems. Yes, Evan agreed. And yet those systems survive. Silence followed. The Krezen did not respond immediately. That delay was new. Back on Chorus 9, Lurie sat in her containment chamber, watching the live feed she should not have access to. The Council had tightened security, but fear made people careless. She saw the fleets. She heard Evan's voice. The data had become reality. Thalos stood behind her, unseen for a moment. If they win, he said quietly, the galaxy will never be the same. Lurie did not turn. It already is. The Krezen made their move without warning. Their ships did not fire at the fleet. They fired at the stars around them. Energy waves surged outward, disrupting space itself. Navigation failed. Shields flickered. Smaller ships spun out of formation. Chaos bloomed exactly as the Krezen had planned. Hold positions, human commanders shouted. Evan's mind raced, sharp and clear. He saw patterns forming where others saw disorder. He remembered Lurie's words. Humans didn't dominate, they connected. Open all channels, he said. All of them. What? An officer asked. Now, human, alien, civilian, military, every channel lit up. Confusion poured through. This is Evan Hale, he said loudly. Stop waiting for orders. Share what you see. Trust each other. The room fell silent as data flooded in. Sensor readings, partial maps, alien navigation tricks humans had never seen, human improvisation techniques aliens had never considered. Broken pieces began to fit together. Ships adjusted positions, not by command but by response. One filled the gap, another left. Shields overlapped. Navigation routes recalculated in real time. The Krezen attack slowed. They're adapting, a Krezen commander hissed. That's not possible, another replied. They are uncoordinated species. But they were coordinating, not through control, through choice. The combined fleet pushed forward, not in a straight line but in waves. Each species contributed what it did best. Humans moved where needed most, filling weak points, reinforcing allies. The Crescent began to lose ships. Desperation entered their calculations. They activated their final measure. A signal pulsed outward, aimed not at ships but at biology. A genetic destabilizer meant to weaken organic life, to force surrender without battle. Across the fleet, alarms screamed. Alien crew members collapsed. Systems warned of internal failure. Evan felt it too, a pressure behind his eyes, a deep ache in his chest. "Biological attack," someone shouted. "We can't block it." Evan gritted his teeth. His vision blurred, then sharpened again. "Focus," he whispered to himself. Human ships reported something strange. Their crews were affected, but less than expected. The destabilizer slowed in human systems, adapting instead of destroying. Human biology resisted long enough for countermeasures to deploy. More than that, the effect weakened near-human vessels. Aliens noticed. "They're shielding us," an alien captain said in disbelief. Humans moved instinctively, pulling damaged ships closer, extending protection. The destabilizer lost coherence, breaking apart under conditions it could not predict. The Crescent signal collapsed. Their formation broke for the first time. "That's it," Evans said softly. "They've lost control." The Allied fleet surged forward. The battle did not end in destruction. The Crescent ships retreated, systems failing, confidence shattered. Their doctrine depended on superiority. Without it, they had nothing. When the last Crescent vessel jumped away, space fell quiet again. No cheers erupted. No victory cries. Only relief. Back on Chorus 9, the council chamber was in chaos. News spread faster than denial could contain. "They protected others," one council member said, "even those who once dismissed them." "They refused dominance," another whispered. "Even when they could have taken it." Thalos stood alone, watching Lurie through the glass. "You were right," he said openly now. "Humanity is not a threat because it seeks power." Lurie finally turned to face him. "It's a threat to those who abuse it." Her containment field deactivated. The council had voted. She was free. Days later, a human ship docked at Chorus 9 under neutral banners. Evan Hale stepped onto the station floor, escorted but unrestrained. Lurie met him in the observation chamber where it all began. For a moment, neither spoke. "You trusted us," Evan said finally. "I trusted the data," Lurie replied. "You proved it deserved trust." They looked out at the stars together. The council announced new laws soon after. Genetic manipulation without consent was banned. Species classification systems were dismantled. Humanity was recognized not as a subject or tool, but as a partner. Not rulers, not saviors, participants. Evan declined every offer of political power. He returned to service, this time as a bridge between worlds. Lurie continued her research, openly now, alongside human scientists, not to control life, but to understand it. Across the galaxy, conflicts softened where humans arrived. Not because humans were perfect, but because they listened. They made mistakes. They adapted. They reminded others that survival was not about purity or dominance. It was about connection. Long after the battle, a new classification entered galactic records. Humanity, keystone species. Presence alters outcomes. Removal increases collapse risk. Evan read it once and laughed. "That sounds complicated," he said. Lurie smiled in the human way she had practiced. "It means you matter." He looked at the stars again. So did everyone else. And that was what truly changed everything.